What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Tribe of Runners. Today, I have a very special guest on. This is someone that I actually met probably like a year and a half-ish ago, maybe roughly. He joined the Everyday Ultra team as I joined the Everyday Ultra team, and we were both being coached by Joe Corcione. And I actually saw a picture that he posted on our Slack community chat that we had, and I was like, hey, I think I actually know that race. And it was Jack's trail race. We both had ran it the same year. I did the 25K and he did the 50K. And then we slowly got to know each other through being a Florida runner and have become good friends. He came out and crewed me for Across Florida. As everyone who's listened to that episode, it was my favorite pacer of all. Everyone knows it. We had such a good time. And he went out and tackled the Arizona Monster. Welcome, Charlie, to the podcast. Thank you so much for getting on here, and I can't wait to talk all things Arizona Monster 300.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. Super excited. So before we get into the Monster, I am sure you have a lot to say. It took, 300 miles of running, but what actually got you into running, and like, how did you find running?
Um, so I didn't grow up with a running background or anything like that. I did a lot of like skateboarding and surfing and playing basketball. And then just throughout, I don't know, it seemed throughout the rest of my life, I just kind of like would randomly sign up for like 5Ks every year, every other year. And then when I met my wife, we sort of continued that. We would sign up for like a random 5K and like a 10K, and then I did the Gate River Run, which is a local race here. It's a 15K. I did that, two or three times. That was pretty much the furthest I'd ever gone, and it was super casual though. I never did any structured training or anything like that. Um, but I got into ultra running a couple years ago when I went to me and my wife were signed up for the Donna 5K, and when you go there, we showed up and I remember walking up and seeing there's like I don't know like 8 people at the starting line, and they're announcing that it was like the start of this 110 mile race. And I remember like looking at my wife and I was like, oh, it's clearly a relay race. Like no one runs 110 miles. Like that's crazy. And then soon found out that no, these people are actually running 110 miles, which is just blew my mind at the time. I just couldn't even comprehend that. And yeah, sort of like that. Like it was the first exposure to it, and then it sort of just always like planted something in my brain. Where I was like, who are these people and what are they doing? How can they do that? And like, what does it take to do something like that? And it just sort of led to like a rabbit hole of like watching YouTube videos and just like seeing more and more, and then just realizing like there's actually a lot of people that do this, and there's a lot of races out there. And um, it took a while, but eventually I was like, I wonder if I can do it. And so I found like a local 50K race. It was the Hellcat 50 race in Green Cove Springs, which was in January 2023. And I signed up for it in October 2022, and just did the best I could to sort of get trained up with what I thought I was doing, and went after that race, and I got it done that first time and I was destroyed. But that was like my first like intro to running, really, I guess, in ultra running.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's always that first race that you're like, you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, or you're gonna love it and then your body's gonna hate it. And you go like, oh, I gotta figure out how I can do this way better.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. As soon as I finished, I was destroyed, and like I could barely walk. I mean, one of my daughters she was there and we had her stroller, and thankfully the stroller was there to kind of like get me back to my car. But immediately when I finished, I was just like, whoa, I didn't die. And I started thinking about just like things I could have done differently, and like if I was going to do it again, like what would I change? And just immediately I started thinking about like, well, like which one I'm going to do next and how can I do better?
No, that's awesome. And would you say your interest, like, because you'd mentioned you saw like the Donna, so that's like obviously 110 miles. When you found Ultra and got interested, were you interested in the longer distances and like wanted to work your way up towards it, or what was your thought process with that?
I was definitely curious about it. I thought it would be cool to one day like run like 100 miles, but having like so little experience, I was like, I don't know if you know, can I actually do that? Like, I figured I'd have to like work my way up, which is essentially what I did. It just led. It seemed like I was progressing with each race I was doing.
No, for sure, for sure. And did you ever, in your mind, think you would do a 300-mile race?
No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was never on the radar.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So before we get into the actual 300, you have done quite a few races. Some of the like more iconic ones would be like there's a whole bunch, but like the Keys is amazing. You've done that, you knocked that out. You did across Florida with a group. There was 4 of you in total, which is phenomenal. As I've done it solo, like I couldn't imagine doing it with a group of people. So that's amazing. What are some of the other races that like really stuck out to you that like were monumental in your training, like just throughout your ultra career?
That's a tough question because I feel like every race I did, I learned something from, and it was such a unique experience. So each one, I think, uh, gave me something from it. I think it was a special experience. Um, the first one for sure, like the Hellcat 50K, because that was just like the first exposure, and then I think it was Octopus 50K, and that was just like I was like, what is going on here? This is crazy. Um, Jack's 50K was good. Got to meet Don there and had a lot of fun there. And then I think there was a 50 miler that I did, which qualified me to run the Donna that next year. So then I found myself at that Donna, which was kind of surreal because I was like there.
Mhm.
Um, and then that was a cool experience. Met a lot of people during that. And then Keys was definitely a big one. That was like uh, quite the experience and started working with Joe that year after that first Donna and got me all prepped up for that. And I had like I don't know, I had a unique experience going through it. It wasn't what I thought, but I learned a lot and got through it, got it done. And then Miami 100 and across Florida was super. I think across Florida was also a super monumental one because it was like an unknown distance and a lot of trail and the multi-day thing and sleep and just taking care of yourself and then um, leading into like Arizona. So
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So let's before we actually go into the monster, I crewed and paced you out there. It was amazing. So I do know like a little bit, and I'm gonna probably ask you some questions like geared, and I can like pull a little more out of you. But before we get to the race, I know something very monumental happened to you. You went to a training camp. So like, give us a little detail on that training camp and like how that went and what that experience was like before going into the Arizona Monster.
yeah, so I guess we want to back up a little bit further too. Originally, what I saw myself doing was doing like across Florida, and then like earlier that year before I even did across Florida, I was interested in doing Cocodona. So I thought I'm going to sign up for Cocodona and do that in 2025. And around the same time, the Arizona Monster like was like previewed or released or whatever, and I was like, man, like I know if I do Cocodona, I'm eventually going to want to do like the Monster. And being that it was like the inaugural year, I was like, I might just jump on that because like at this point, Cocodona has gone on for a couple of years, and there's only one like inaugural year, so I'm just gonna go for that. And so that's what like led me to signing up for it. Um, and then like the training progressed across Florida happened, and then training, and then it led to my coach inviting me to a training camp on the course. I want to say it was like 5 weeks prior or something like that to the start. And yeah, we ended up doing like 73-ish miles of the course. And I was like knocking out my training and super prepared, super pumped for this training camp. And then we show up, and day one, we do essentially like the first 37 miles of the course. And it's like a hard section for sure. But, just being like the first 37 miles, like, I was like, okay, we're gonna knock this out.
Mhm.
And ended up, there was like crazy weather and a million things happened, but I was absolutely destroyed. Like I finished this first day, like barely being able to walk. Just it looked like I had ran 100 miles. I was mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. I was freezing and cold, and just it seemed like everything went wrong. And I was like, "What have I got myself into?" Like, this isn't Florida. This isn't like a 70-foot bridge that I was just got done running over. Um, I don't know if I can do this. And that night, just how rough I felt. I was like, I might just like, you know, skip tomorrow and then just hopefully be ready to do like the third day. But I also knew like from my experience, like I probably just needed to eat and sleep, and I'd probably get a lot more energy back. And so I did that. Woke up the next day, and then the next day was like, we're gonna go over Mount Lemmon. We're gonna climb up and go down the other side. And it was quite crazy too, because just a weird storm came through, and ended up snowing, and the mountain was covered in snow, and we got started and ended up going probably like 8 miles up the climb. And we got separated. There's a group of us doing it, and I couldn't keep up with like Joe and this other group of people that we're with, and so I was just going at my own pace. And get about 8 miles up, and I I had to sort of make a decision at that point, because I knew if I kept going and the roads were closed, like if I was feeling the way I was and I was gonna like be destroyed again, that I'd either have to like Uber down, but it wasn't an option because the roads were closed from the like ice on the road. Or I'd have to like turn around where I was and like get in touch with the other person we're with to make sure I can get a ride back in the car. And I think I made the right call. I turned around and went back that way, and still got like I got through most of the big climb, so I felt like I did like decent that day. But it was like I got done. I was like, I started talking. It was David who was with us. He's also on the team, and I was like telling David, like, dude, I can't do this. This is like way above like what I'm capable of. And I'm just like immediately I'm just starting to think like, how am I gonna tell? How am I gonna tell my wife? How am I gonna tell Joe like that I just can't do this? I just want to back out, and I should just stick to like just running on the road or something like that. And me and David, he was sort of going through the same thing, and so we got to like kind of relate with that. And yeah, later that night, Joe finished. He went up and over, and when he caught up with us, he's like, "All right, guys, like let's get some dinner." And so we went to this place and got some dinner. And he could tell that we were both like we were not in a good space. So he put on his coaching hat, and yeah, just started talking to like, you know, why maybe we are feeling like we were, um, what was maybe making like the past 2 days more difficult than we thought. And one of the things like I brought up, I was like, I don't, what I think the problem is like I don't think I have a great why I'm doing this. I sort of like forgot. And we went through a couple exercises, and it kind of reminded me of like, why I got into this in the first place and things like that. And then, he had this belief in me from just the training that we're doing. He's like, you can do this. Like, I see what you've been doing in your training. I know you can do this and you're capable of it. You just gotta like, believe in yourself. And yeah, the next day was on the bike path. There's about 40 miles of bike path in the race. And again, I was like destroyed. I was like, I might just like sleep in. I don't know if I'm gonna actually like do this. And sure enough, like 8 slaps, woke up. I was like, I'm just gonna go out and run like 5 miles and just call it a day. So we get out there, sun's coming up, hop on the bike path, and like just start running. I'm like, it's super familiar to me, just being on like cement or pavement, and knock out the first 5 miles. And I'm starting to feel good. And in my head, this whole time, I'm just like thinking about all the things that we were talking about the night before, and uh, it really was like getting me hyped up. I was starting to feel better, and I was like, I think I can do this. And got ended up going like I think we did like 22 miles or something like that. And got back, and like Joe was there, and he asked like how it was. I was like, dude, I'm ready for this. I think I can do it. And we both decided like I just need to get to the bike path, and that's about over. It's like just essentially like the halfway part of the race. You go over Mount Lemmon, and then you come down, and then there's like a little trail section. You end up at the bike path, and the second half of the course generally is like easier than the first half. And that was like the thing, was like I just need to get to the bike path, and I can do this. And yeah, that was like what sort of led up to the start of the race. And after that training camp experience, we tweaked a couple things in my training. And then also like it was just a lot of like mental preparation for the race.
Yeah, for sure. Well, mentally, you need to prepare yourself for any race, I feel like, but especially for a 300. And you mentioned, like obviously here in Florida, training for a Verde race. So this race 300 miles, and it has roughly, I think, 40,000 feet of vert.
Yep.
And like during your training, before you went to training camp, you had mentioned you had a significant change in training. What was that for you?
Um, we were doing a lot of like treadmill work, a lot of like incline work on the treadmill, and then also a lot of like I have a bridge not too far. It's only a 70-foot bridge, but a lot of bridge repeats. It wasn't like a huge change in what we were doing, but it was sort of like um the order that we were doing in things and then the intensity at which I was doing certain things just changed. And that was just helping me because I just think I needed a little more stimulus with like the best I can do with like running downhill and then uh just even more like going uphill and hiking kind of motion.
Yeah, for sure. And that makes so much sense. But I would just love to point out that like you do live in Florida and you did this, and which is amazing. And we talked about that so much actually during the race. But I just wanted to let everyone know, like, you know, you went into the 300 before the training camp thinking it was like pretty doable, maybe some concerns, not too much. Had the training camp was kind of like a smack in the face.
Hmm.
But it took, just having that hard conversation, remembering your why, and dialing in a little more training to get you ready and get you to the finish line. And I know how you felt during the actual like start of the finish. Like when you were there, I remember you told us a couple times like what you were feeling and what you were experiencing in that moment. So can you tell us, like, for everyone to hear, like when you were at that finish line, like was there any doubt in your mind with this 300, and like what were you feeling?
At the start line, I showed up and I was just was completely ready to go, 100% believed I was going to finish. There's no question. I just believed what I could do and that I was ready. And yeah, I was just ready to get it done.
Very cool, very cool. So before we actually like start with the race, what would you say like preparation and all of that for the race, like after the training camp for prepping and getting yourself ready for the race? What was that like for you? And then we can kind of get into that start line and all the good stuff.
Yeah, packing was a nightmare. I had to fly there. Hadn't had to deal with that before. I had like really overweight suitcases, and I was really nervous that everything was going to get lost when we were flying there. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Yeah, brought all the gear out, and then we got we rented a like a Sprinter van type vehicle. This big van that had a bed on the roof and a bed on the inside, and um got that. And you helped me big time because you showed up when I showed up, and we started preparing like all the drop bags and all the nutrition stuff, which I was like sort of winging it. And like we can't wing it. We gotta make sure we're a little more ready to go for this. For 300 miles. So that was a big kind of learning experience, and actually helped a lot kind of mentally going through. We went through like aid station to aid station, kind of drop bag to drop bag, crew stop to crew stop. And it maybe took, I don't know how long it took, maybe like an hour or two, something like that. But it was like really good. And it really took a lot of like stress off me once we had that done. And yeah, sort of laid out my clothes for the night, for like my race clothes and all that. And I was ready to go. Yeah, I got the crew together. So I don't think we've mentioned everyone. You were there, you're the crew chief, super pumped to have you. And then I also had Jordan England and Blake Calagero, and they are the two crazy people that ran across Florida in the summer. I helped pace them. And then Jason Clark, and he's someone that ran Donna this past year. He's from Jacksonville, but he lived in Colorado. And he was excited to come out and be part of the team and help me kind of get through this.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, we assembled the team and got all prepped up and we were ready to go.
Heck yeah. Yeah, so the crew you set up was amazing. Honestly, couldn't have done any of it without them, and it was super cool to meet all of them. Funny enough, I tried to record an episode with Blake and Jordan to have them on the podcast. Recorded the whole thing. Somehow Jordan's portion didn't actually save, so I couldn't use that episode. Got to meet Jason out there, and he crushed a huge section and like took you to just about the finish, which was really really cool. But it was weird for me in the aspect of crewing and not so much pacing, but crewing, because like I didn't know any of these people, and I can honestly say like that was really the first time crewing. I didn't know that many people. Like I met Andrea a little bit before when I did Cocodona, so like I kind of knew her. Like we knew a little bit through texting, but like I didn't really know these guys very well. So like we all got to know each other pretty quick, which was really different, but really cool at the same time. And at the end of the day, was super glad to be a part of this journey because you were so monumental to my across Florida that I was like, I'll do anything and everything I can to help you get to the finish of this race. So I was super happy to be a part of that and like help you get there. But let's get into the good stuff with the race. So you got to say the pledge for the first time. How was that with the Destination Trail pledge for their if you die?
Yeah, it was kind of weird saying it, but I guess it's part of the experience.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then the the countdown happens and the race starts. What were your first initial thoughts like to that start line of crossing that start line and getting going?
It was just excitement. I wasn't super nervous at all. I was ready. That last week I was just really anticipating starting, and like I was like every day I was like, wish it was today. So it was good to finally start and kind of get going. The During the training camp we did the first like 37 miles, but it wasn't the first 37. They're the first six, I think it's like 6.6 miles is from the start to this place called Picket Post. And so that wasn't something we did, but it's kind of like it's part on road, part on a little bit of trail, stuff like that. So that part was new to me. And yeah, it was like a group of us running, and it was exciting. We got going, and yeah, that was like the start of the adventure.
Yeah, very cool. And just so everyone knows, I'm sure anyone that knows much about the Arizona Monster, there's a decent amount of this section that you actually go where you don't see your crew, and then there's another longer amount that you actually don't get until you get a pacer. So I believe it was right around 75 miles until we saw you the first time at Freeman.
Yep.
And then that was the first crewable spot where you got to see your aid, or I'm sorry, the first aid stop where you got to see your crew. And then 106 is where you could pick up your, or 105, I think, somewhere around there is when you could pick up your first pacer, which was Jordan, who got to take you up Mount Lemmon, which I can't wait to get to that. But how was that first 75 miles? Obviously, you had some aid stations before that, but like, what was your experiences? What were some highs? What were some lows?
So with the 12 o'clock start, I knew that it was going to be nighttime, like relatively early once we started. But when I finished the training camp, I told Joe at the end of that day when I was like, next when I come back here, I'm going to make sure like I'm going to be feeling so much better when I get through this section. And I was thinking about that while I was out there. And then seeing the sights at a different time of the day just kind of made everything a little bit different, but I was like still semi-familiar with everything. But it was beautiful. It's probably like one of the prettiest sections of the course is the place from Picket Post to the Gila River. Um, and went through that and met Jeff uh, Tweed out there and got to know him. And we shared a lot of miles together. And I also met Helgi. I'm gonna crush his last name, but Helgi from Florida.
Yes.
He was filming his documentary, and I got to like just introduce myself and say hi to him while we were out there. Yeah, made it out there, got to the Gila River point, and that's when Peter Pete what's his name? Whoever was in first place, he caught up to me, and they started later. They did a 2 p.m. start. He caught up, and we ate some soup together, and then he took off. But yeah, that first section was like really cool. Got to run some miles with Joe also, which was really special. And he got to see me like feeling better during the section when I was suffering the first time we ran it together. So I really enjoyed that. And by that time it was night, and we made it to Grand Enchantment, and that was the first place I had a drop bag, and there's a fire pit going. I think I changed my socks to something like that. I had a whole bunch of food, and I don't remember what time of day it was, but I was tired, and I was like, I texted you guys. I had a headache for some reason, which we later realized was because I didn't have any caffeine, I think. Um, I was like, maybe I'll try and take like a nap here or something like that. And then there ended up not being any room in the tents. There's like no cots available, so which was good. I ended up just like getting my stuff and getting out of there. And ended up the next section, like everyone's talking about, it's like a pretty significant climb and can be pretty gnarly. It was like pitch black out. And so I was just like following my feet, following my watch, and didn't really know any better. And got through this like tougher section, which I think went well. And it was the first like late night there with the stars and the moon out and stuff like that. So it was really pretty. Um, and that was a cool experience. And then we ended up, I think, at Tortilla. Is that correct? Yeah,
Hmm.
so we ended up Tortilla, and that was when the sunrise started to come up, and I was like feeling like a little tired there, a little tired, a little more tired than I was expecting. Again, ate a bunch of food, kind of like cameled up, and then and took off. And I think the next spot I knew I was gonna see you guys. Does that sound right?
Yep, next one was Freeman.
Yeah, so it took off, and yeah, I remember when there was about, I don't remember how long that section was, but it seemed like it was forever. And I remember when there was like 4 miles left. I was doing like a lot of hiking at that point, and I was like, you know what, I need to get there as soon as I can. So I just started running. I'm just gonna knock out these last 4 miles so I can get there because I knew I was gonna nap actually. So like I'm gonna get there, eat a bunch of food, take a nap, and so I hauled butt, and I remember it's kind of crazy because I feel like before every crew stop, it seemed like before every single time I saw you guys, just that section would just get terrible.
Mhm.
And so, of course, like in the distance, I see where all the vans and the tents are and all that stuff. And then it's just like these crazy hills. You have to climb all these hills to get there. And it made getting there even better. But got that out. And then I was like just super pumped to see everybody when I came into that aid station.
Heck yeah, yeah. The first aid, again, that was like midday on day two, if I remember correctly, right?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, or I guess it's technically day one because you start at 12 on
Yeah.
Friday. I think we
Like the
started.
end of day one.
Yeah, yeah. And you did sleep. You took a 2 hour nap, but we fed you and you had a whole bunch of food first. We're all set for that. And then took your nap, uh, and then went back out. And honestly, like within the first, I was wondering like how bad you would look from like my point of view. And I thought you looked great. So if you were hurting, you hit it very well. But it was so great to hear like you talk about that first segment because I knew it was a little daunting for you because it was something that like you had a bad experience with, and it was so nice to see you come in like no worry at all. You're like, dude, that was awesome. Like, I'm feeling great, and that was really, really cool to hear. Just because the back of our everyone's mind, there's just so much in that first 75 that we don't see you for. So it's like the whole time we're like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And it was nice to finally get like a little catch up, and then for you to head back out there. The next section, so you went from 75 to 105, and that's where we got to see you again, and then you picked up your pacer. So what was like that little, I hate to say little but smaller segment like for you?
Um, Woke up feeling fresh, took off, and it was like the middle of the day, so it was like warming up. We were that first day there was like overcast weather, so it wasn't super hot or anything like that. And then the nighttime it was cooler. Then the second day, I think it was exposed for the most part. But you end up running through this like there's like this. It seems like this like field of like cactus. There's like cactus everywhere. I don't know all the names of them, but they're like just all around you. You have to be really careful. And yeah, the entire race I made it without getting poked by a single cactus. So I was like really proud of that. So I run through all this stuff, and this part of the race I was like alone for the majority of it. Um, we ran through all that, and I think the next aid station I was getting to is it wasn't Pistol Hill, it was
Black Hills, yep.
it was Black Hills. That was like the next stop, and you guys weren't there, but I had to get there. And there is a big climb. You have to go over this mountain, and off in the distance, you could sort of see like these like really dark clouds, and you could see like rain like really far away. And I was like, oh, like the way the wind's blowing, it doesn't seem like it's coming this way. And like you're running and running, and then it's like seems like it's getting closer. And there's this through hiker going by, and like I thought I felt like a drop of water on me, and I was like, like whatever, I'm not gonna get my rain gear out just yet. And this through hiker goes by. I was like, hey, do you think it's gonna rain? She's like, it's gonna rain. Like yesterday, I was questioning if I was gonna put on my rain stuff, and I got destroyed by the rain. I was wet the whole night, so I'm not making that mistake again. I was like, you think I should put my rain stuff on? She's like, put your rain stuff on. So I did, and which was good because it ended up like this crazy storm came through. As I'm climbing up this mountain that's like super exposed, and there's like a million cactus, so, like in this little tight trail with all these cactus. Um, the wind is like insane. It was like blowing like crazy, and there's all these little pieces of the cactus like blowing across the trail. And so I'm trying to stay upright because of the wind, and also trying to like hoping not to get like stabbed by a cactus, and praying there's no lightning or anything like that, which thankfully there wasn't. But it's like pouring down rain, super windy, and I'm at like the top of this like mountain. It's like super exposed, and get to the other side, and sort of as quickly as the storm came, it sort of passed. But it was like such a crazy, like it came at the worst time. Um, and After that climb, my legs were feeling a little bit, and there's like this again. There's like this crazy climb. You have to get up to the next aid station and get up there, and it was a kind of a tiny spot. I was supposed to see Greg there, Greg Lawson, who's on the team, and he had just left or something like that. So I was a little bummed out I didn't get to see him. But got there, and this was the first place where they had pizza, and so I was like super stoked to have. They're like, "What kind of pizza do you want?" Like Hawaiian pizza, pepperoni pizza. I was like, "Give me one of each." So sat down with there's a fire pit again, and started eating some pizza. And as I was getting up to leave, they had this little table with like these bracelets. And so I got this bracelet here that says like Arizona Monster on it, and this little rock. I picked up this little tiny rock, and it had the Gila Monster painted on it. I was like, "Oh, this is cool. I'm gonna like keep this and take it with me and show everybody." And The next section was gonna take us into night. But what was really cool when I finished that, I ended up running into Kerry Ward, which I didn't know who he was, but he's like, I guess one of these OG ultra runners, but he has all these really long format YouTube videos of his like ultra adventures and stuff. So we shared like a lot of miles together, and we went from like sunset until we got to that next cruise stop. But we saw like the prettiest sunset. The sky was like purple, and the way the sun was setting, like with the mountains on the horizon, it was just like the most beautiful thing ever. And he was taking a picture of it. I was just kind of just taking it in. But that was probably like the most epic sunset from the whole thing. But yeah, we went through the night together. And we saw like I think the biggest saguaro cactus of the entire trail that I was on. Like at one point, it was just like this huge, crazy thing. Um, and we slowed down a lot when we were getting really close to the aid station. We were both tired, and I know he was feeling it for sure. And we just kind of worked our way there. And that was when I ran into you guys again. Was at Tiger Mine. Made it to Tiger Mine. I don't know what time of night or morning it was, but it was dark.
Yeah. Dark, and it was kind of chilly. I do remember that too. Like we were all bundled up. And you were bundled up too. Still, believe it or not, looking really, really good, which I was really surprised about. The whole time, I have to say, majority of the time when I saw you, I was very surprised by how you looked compared to other people. Because obviously, like I got to see a lot of people come in and hear them, see them, and each time I was very surprised by what and how you looked and acted, which was really, really cool to see. Mind you, I only saw like a few people, but you always looked really, really good, which was awesome. And then Tiger Mine is 105 and is when you pick up your first pacer. You did sleep here too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the one that, if I remember correctly, you didn't sleep very well. That sleep, I think we let you sleep for like 2.5 hours because you slept for the first hour pretty good, and then after that, like you were coughing a lot. So then that's when we had to get you some cold medicine. But other than that, at this point you're like maybe like solid sleep 3 hours, and then you get to take Jordan and go up Mount Lemmon. So what was your well actually before we do that, let's go. Do you remember when you got into Tiger Mine, the first thing like you started talking to us about?
Yeah, so I got there and I was like super excited to see everyone, and I was super hungry. I was exhausted too, and I probably looked a little wild because I was like, I don't know. It was like in the middle of the night, and it was the end of this really long effort. And got in. I was like, this thing. I started showing off my bracelet right
Yeah,
away,
yeah,
and I was telling you guys about this rock that I found, and immediately everyone's looking at me like, "All right, we got to get him to sleep like as soon as
yeah,
possible. He
yeah.
looks like he doesn't know what he's talking about." I was like, "I swear, there's this rock. Like, let me find this rock." And you guys like shuffled me off to bed. I was also losing my voice too. There's like so much dust out there on the trail that my voice was gone, and so it probably made me sound even crazier. And
Yes.
yeah, so I was having these like coughing attacks too, which was interrupting the sleeping quite a bit.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't remember what the food was there, but it
I
wasn't
think we
pizza.
had burgers
It was
for
like a
you.
burger or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had burgers for you there from this aid stop. But yeah, I remember you were like so pumped about your bracelet, and like we saw the bracelet, we're like, dude, that's so cool. And then like you didn't explain the rock. You're like, oh, and I found this rock, and we're like, what? And then you couldn't find it. So we're like, all right, man, like, let's just get you to sleep. Like, we have no clue what you're talking about. So that was like really funny. But yeah, that's when you laid down and like I could tell the dust was really getting to you. When you did come in, your voice was wrecked. And I hate to say this, but the rest of the whole race, your voice was pretty much in and out every day. Like it would kind of get a little better, but you were like struggling to vocalize a lot of things, which it's kind of normal for us. I'm sure, like we're used to humidity out here in Florida, and then going to the dry desert like tore up my throat, tore up my nose,
Oh
and
yeah.
you experienced the same thing out there. But you got some sleep and then got pumped. Jordan was taking you. You guys were gonna do. I think it's one section, and then you go up Mount Lemmon. So Tiger Mine to Oracle, and then Oracle to the top of Mount Lemmon. And Jordan is a Florida runner as well. So we were kind of like the Florida crew. Jason was from Jacksonville, so like we can include him in Florida as well. So it was really cool because we're all flat. And you and Jordan got to go tackle Mount Lemmon. So what was running with him like? How was that whole experience? And what fun things happened throughout that?
Yeah, so I was really excited to finally have my first pacer, and I was really happy that it was Jordan. And yeah, we woke up and sort of just took off. It was chilly out, so we were kind of bundled up a little bit, and we made it to Oracle, and then there was a hot food there, so I think we had pancakes. We had pancakes, and I had a drop bag there with Celsius, so I packed two Celsius in all my drop bags so I could share them. And so me and Jordan both had a Celsius and some breakfast stuff, and we packed some to go. I took this like hummus wrap, and he packed this like peanut butter wrap or something like that. And sunrise is starting to come up, and before the sunrise, we heard these like coyotes like before we got to Oracle, and you hear all this like hooting and hollering. And I was like, man, they're like really cheering in these people at the aid station. And Jordan's like, those are coyotes. And I had no idea. It sounded like people. Well, that was kind of funny. So we got there, ate breakfast, and then took off. And once you start, the way it is, I think it's like 13 or 14 miles from Oracle to the top of Mount Lemmon. And I don't know if Oracle's the mountain or not, but you end up climbing over this like little mini mountain, and it's a whole bunch of switchbacks, and you start the process. But then you go down for a bit, and then that's when the climb starts. And it starts off gradual, but then you hit these sections where it's just like these just really funky rocks, and it just seems like you're like just looking straight up. And we were just going to town. I remember like I was really nervous about this day because I knew it was going to be like the hard day. Getting up to Mount Lemmon and then getting down Mount Lemmon was going to take like all day, and it was going to be really hard. So I remember telling you like I'm really nervous about today, and but we were crushing it. We started, kept going, had to take a breaks and enjoy the views while we are up there. And once we got through the really hard part, it kind of leveled off a little bit before there's like a couple more little climbs before you're at the end. Jordan and I had like we busted out these wraps that we took. We had a little picnic like at the top, which was really special. And so we got to kind of like chat a little bit and just kind of like take a breather and we just like think about like what we just like kind of conquered because it was pretty gnarly and it was hard, but we got it done and kind of wrapped up that section, and then we came rolling into the aid stop at the top of Mount Lemmon where you were.
Mhm. Yes, and I will have to say, I do remember you like talking to me and being like, "I'm really worried about Mount Lemmon." And I remember the first thing I said is like, "All you got to do is go up it." And you're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You got to get up Mount Lemmon, then get down to the bike path." And I remember like that was the two things we kept telling you is like, you just have to go up the mountain and then get to the bike path because we knew the path was your specialty, which we will get into, where you crush some miles out there, but such like a huge probably weight off your shoulders, like getting up that mountain, would you say?
Yeah, it was half the battle.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
And
and
getting up Mount Lemmon, you were at like 128-ish miles in. So it's not even that you were halfway there, but it was like half the battle of the
like the
craziness.
day, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. And then out Mount Lemmon, when we were up there, you just got some food. I believe they had burgers. You were really disappointed. You thought they were going to have pizza.
I was told there was pizza and there wasn't, but
Yeah, but they had some good burgers. So we had some burgers, and then we just went out. And this is where I came in, and we paced for a little bit. So I obviously know about this section. I was out there with you. But what was going down Mount Lemmon like for you?
um so up to this point, like my legs were a little sore and my feet were definitely feeling it at this point. Like I had blisters developing and we were taking really good care of my feet the best we could. And I knew the downhills were starting to bother me. And this is all downhill. It's like the first, I don't know how many miles, it seems like you just go straight downhill. And the first like part of it is like really technical. There's all these like loose rocks and like it was the first time I fell. The only two times I fell were with you on this section. Um, and yeah, I kind of wiped out in the beginning, and I'm starting to tell you, I'm like, I'm gonna complain the whole time.
Yeah.
My feet are hurting. This stinks. It's just like I'm gonna be miserable, and you're just like, I'm here, like you're doing great, keep going. And we were just getting through it. We're just like going through the motions, and we're just making progress. We're just continuing on. And like I just, I was complaining, my feet were hurting, this and that, and made it down to like a little water stream. And it was like we packed some food with us here as well. And so like I was like super excited. I was like debating because it was like really cold water. I was like, oh, like my feet were killing me. I was like, it'd probably like feel really good to like put my feet in here. And we're like talking like, is this gonna be a really bad idea if I get my feet soaking wet? So we didn't do that, but I put my hands in there and just kind of chilled out and kind of wet a couple things down and ate. I don't even remember what I had. It was like a turkey wrap or something like that. And so yeah, we had a picnic again on Mount Lemmon, sort of not near the bottom, but on our way down. And yeah, enjoyed that. And then we took off, and as we're going down, it's still like hurting and painful and all this stuff. And the sunset's going on. I was trying my best to like enjoy the sunset while like trying not to fall and also like try not to think about my feet. Um, but yeah, we made it down, and I don't remember the name of the aid station we got to, but then it was nighttime by the time we got there. Where was that?
Charlock's Gap? Charlock's?
Charlou Gap? Charlou.
Charlot.
Charlou. Yeah, I think it's Charlou Gap.
All right, cool. And that aid stop was an R,
Yeah, with
which
like water and ramen, basically.
yes, yes, very not to say bare minimum, but very limited. And then going so my point of view, you did keep saying like, oh, I was so trashed, I'm complaining, I'm so sorry. You really did not complain that much. You did complain. Yes, I did hear you complain. But it was nothing that I was ever like, dude, you need to shut up. I know a few times I felt bad and I was like, dude, it's okay, like that's what I'm here for. Like you just talk it out. And you did really well. I do remember at the sunset, like I just kept telling you, like, dude, look at these views. It's so cool. Mind you, I was half, sunset struck because it was like, a new experience for me being up on the mountain and being able to see all that, which is really, really cool and special to share with you, even though you may have been hating your life. But you truly handled that section very, very well. And I remember at one point you're like, I really hope this isn't our only sections together because like they sucked and I don't want them to suck for you. But they didn't suck for me, I promise. So it was really cool to experience that. Once we did hit that aid, we took a stop, got some good food. You ate like 4 cups of ramen and I think like 3 cups of Coca-Cola at that aid, which was
Yeah.
also to have you fuel up. And then we ran into Lizzie and her runner Martin. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was like, that was when I was like, it wasn't like a low for me, but it was like I was just kind of like feeling my feet and just kind of like a little miserable.
Mhm.
Um, and they came in like super fired up. Like they were ready to go. They were hyped. And they tried to hype me up, and our energies were just in two different places. But it was really cool to see them, and that was my first time getting to meet Martin. It was nice to see Lizzie.
Yeah, for sure. And you met Lizzie through the Across Florida, and that's how Lizzie Fowler. So shout out to Lizzie and Martin, who did also finish the Across Florida. So congratulations, amazing accomplishment. But yeah, I remember after they left and like we left, we had talked, and I was like, they're awesome, but like I'm not even on that level of like hypeness right now, And it was just so crazy, but they crushed it and did amazing. So after that, what was your thought process like leaving that aid and heading towards our next section that you were really, really pumped to be to? What was your like thought process and kind of mentality leaving that area?
Um, it was a lot of things. So when we initially took off, I was still sort of in that kind of lull kind of feeling. but we're like, when you leave there, you're immediately like on the road for like a mile. And I remember you were running on like the shoulder where there's like some dirt or whatever, and I was like just staying on the road. I was like, I'm gonna stay right here. And slowly the ramen, the Coke was like starting to like do its thing. And I think by this point my feet were like just dead. And so like I was less focused on my foot pain. Um and we started moving through the night. This section in particular was like a super confusing. Once you get off the road, you're sort of in this like open field with like a couple of trees and a couple of cactus, and you have to like your watch points you where to go, but you're also looking for these markers, and they're just like very dispersed. So you're like trusting your watch and also trying to find these markers, and you killed it. You were identifying these things like so far away. And yeah, we got through that, which was a little tricky. And then we started running. Then we started picking up the pace a little bit, and I was feeling better because I know I was like we started chatting a lot more, and it was less about just my feet hurting. And we ended up at this like place. I don't know what you'd call it. Again, it seemed like it was like a cactus maze or something. Some kind of like I don't know in the desert.
Yeah.
Um, there was a drone that we saw too, and there's like a cop car out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
Um, yeah, we were out there, and then we saw like a funny sign like in the middle of nowhere. It said like every like I don't know what it says like enjoy every moment, like every moment's special when you're running the Arizona Monster. And we took a
Yeah.
picture with me like boo, I don't feel like that right now. But that was actually a good time. But I knew I was like once we're getting closer and closer to the crew again, and this crew spot in particular, there was a cutoff for, and we had to get there by I think it was like 1 o'clock or midnight because that's when In and Out closes, and
Yeah.
this aid stop was like at an In and Out parking lot. Um, so we were just cruising, crushing it, and I think we started running. I don't know if it was the last mile, last 2 miles or something, but we started running, um, and finished that section like really strong, and I was
Yeah.
like really proud of that.
Yeah. And one thing I will tell you that I think I'll never forget, and it was like I think we ran the last like maybe mile and a half. We'll just cut it even.
Yeah,
And I told you I was like, make sure you don't like go out too hard. And you're like, I want to go or I want to be tired so I can sleep. And I was like, oof, that's so smart. Like you're gonna like you knew you were gonna sleep, but this is a spot that you were gonna sleep at, and you're gonna get a whole bunch of food. And like just hearing you say that, I was like, dang, like at the end of the day, like you can't really push too much at the end of a mile and a half. But to hear you say like I want to exert some energy so I can be really tired. I was like, he is so smart right now. Like he's still with it. Like he's got this. So it was really cool. And yeah, I remember like we were like we have to get there so we can get some in and out and get you like that one meal you wanted in the race, which we did do, which was awesome. And that ending was on the bike path, so that's where officially like the path had started, so we got to run in on there. I remember also like being up in the mountains and you're like trying to, do you think that lighting over there is where,
yeah,
and then we like do a couple turns. And I'm like, wait, now that's over here, but like it was so weird. But then we could eventually smell In and Out. Do you remember that?
yeah, you can smell it.
Yeah, yeah, that was really cool too. Just because like we knew right when I smelled it, I'm like, we're here. Like it's gonna be right around the corner. So that was really cool to experience. And then you had your In and Out. You went back to sleep. We did another 2 hours. So ideally, right around here, you're about 5 hours of solid sleep. Say like an hour of rolling around sleeping. And after this point, this is where you're going to be. I think there was like a 17-mile section on straight bike path. I think it was like 15 or 16. Um,
Hmm.
and then you were on the bike path for 40 miles, including that, correct?
Yeah, so was that aid stop? Is that Catulo? Is that where
Uh,
we were? Or is that where we were going?
we were at Catalina going to Retiro.
Catalina, yeah, Catalina.
Yeah.
Going to Rosilo.
Yes.
Um, okay, so we were at Catalina. Yeah, so I remember going to bed, and I remember laying my head down, and I could hear through the van that you guys were talking about. So you guys were trying to figure out how long it's going to take me to get to the like
Yeah.
the next section.
Yeah. And which you crushed and you beat way faster than we had originally anticipated. But um, you woke up and you were ready to go. Like, I don't know if you remember, but you were like, I'm ready. Like, let's get me on the bike path. And we kind of forgot to mention this, but almost at every actual crewable aid stop, we did update and fix your feet as much as possible. You're very prone to having blisters on your pinky toes. So
Hmm.
Greg actually, shout out to Greg Wilson, taped up your feet to start, and then I did the best I could throughout, which was just like pretty much the back of your heels were like the things that we had to adjust the most because they were, either getting refilled that needed to be popped, or the tape was kind of coming off because that area was just getting rubbed a little bit more. But we fixed your feet and then hit the pavement, and I joined you again, and we ran some miles on the bike path to start, which is then when we went to Ratillo. So that segment, I hate to say it, was kind of short. Anything significant or substantial that you remember that you want to say? There is something I do want to say, but anything that you can think of?
No, I remember being pumped to start and just switching shoes. It was like I could finally switch to like my road shoes, which I was excited to wear. So got those on. It was a little, I think it was a little chilly to start, like every morning was. Yeah, taking off, feeling good, and there was a sunrise in there along the way, and then we were like passing. We started like just passing people, which is really cool. There's people out there just kind of zombie walking that I think just didn't stop or something like that. And we were counting the people we were passing, but we started like passing a bunch of people on this section, and I was feeling good, and we were moving quicker than anticipated.
Mhm.
And I was just like getting in the groove. I was ready.
Yeah. So I think the best part was like for me that there's two parts that like really stick out to me. One of them's funny and the other one I was like, what the hell? But like you're like it was pretty chilly, and I was like, hey, we need to make sure you stay warm. And you're like, why don't we like jog it out for a little bit? I'm like, oh great, like let's start jogging, and like 1 mile goes by, 2 miles go by, and we're getting
Oh
quicker.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, or do you want to stop? And you're like, oh no, like I'm good. I'm like, oh shoot. So like we're running this whole thing. And that was really cool to experience. Like you were just, I cannot explain how dialed in you were. I remember towards the end, like I was dying, like, oh my God, I'm so tired. And I'm like, dude, just go, like go. But you truly, like, I feel like we started at like, like say 16, 15-minute miles. Then it was like 13, 14, 14, 13. And then like, I think we were hitting like a 12-minute mile. I would say three-fourths of that whole section, which was really, really cool. And then the other thing, like right when we took off, do you remember seeing someone and thinking like, oh, do you remember this?
oh, I thought it was Andy Glaze.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was so funny. We were like probably 2 miles out of the actual aid, and you're like, you think that's Andy in front of us? I'm like, dude, no, like he's way behind us, which was really like comical for me because I think we both have like a little bit of a man crush on him. Nothing serious. Like he's an amazing person. I've met him a
Oh
few
yeah,
times in person. He's a fantastic runner and like what he does in the community, but I knew for you, like you didn't want him to catch you. So like that was your like little like I want to try to just stay ahead of him. You called him your sweeper, which is really, really
yeah.
cool. Um, but I do remember, do you remember how many people we counted that you passed?
I'm gonna guess. I think it was like 12 people or something like that.
13.
13. Okay, yeah.
13, yeah. So we passed the last one like right before we got in, which was 13. So it was wild because I remember like we passed a few, and that was the first thing you're like, we were like passing these people, and you weren't lying, like zombie walking, really rough. They looked crazy, and then like I'm looking at you, and you are like grinning ear to ear, so pumped, running 12-minute miles. So that was super special to encounter, and then. Sun came up and it was bright as day. It did get a little warm. I do remember I actually took off one of my jackets because I got so cold or so hot. I'm sorry. And then you were just cruising though. You were good to go. And we got to the next aid. So what was at that aid station? Do you remember?
Yeah, so that was a special one. We got there quicker than I think people were expecting. And there was a bunch of good food. I loaded up on pancakes, and we're sort of like wondering where the crew vehicle was. It was there. Um, but I sat down near like the aid station stuff first. And then like Jordan came over, and Blake and Jason, like, let's go like look at your feet or whatever. And so we go back to the van and sit down. And like I think I'm like taking my shoes off or something like that. And then like all of a sudden just like some arms wrap around me and someone's hugging me, and I think Jordan's from it. It's like, who is that? And then I realized it was like Amy was there, my wife was there. And I was like not expecting that. I knew she was gonna come out at some point, but I was in my head that morning when we started running, I was like, they don't think I'm gonna move this quick. I'm gonna move too quick for them to tell her to get here. And I don't know how you guys figured it out, but she ended up being there when I was there, and it was really special to see her, and then for me to also like not be miserable when I was seeing her. I was like feeling good,
Yeah.
and so it was nice. We got to FaceTime the girls and spend a little time chit chatting and just kind of getting ready for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it was so cool, and just such a special moment because like not to say you had such a bad blow because like Mount Lemon sucked hands down. Going down it was
Yeah.
horrible, and you were struggling. So like in the back of my mind, I just knew that you were excited to be on the bike path, but also you didn't know that your wife was going to be at the next aid. Which so I was excited for you to get there and have that. And then you're always at a high, so it's just so nice because like everything worked out. It's not like Amy was there to kind of cheer you up; like she was just there to keep you up, and which was really cool and special to see. And you talk to your kiddos for a little bit, also put a little bit of spark in you, which was really, really cool to witness. And then after this, you got to go out with Blake, and I mean, just pulled you so well through this whole section, and was like truly something special to see as like someone in crew and someone that like even paced you too. Like it was just so cool to see him. Like he was sending us texts and picture updates and videos and like all this good stuff, and like we could just see like the life was brought back in you, and it was really special for me to see as like someone who really cares and saw you like struggling in the mountain area, but then to go back on pavement, like we kept saying like this is the Florida people, like this is our
Oh yeah.
section. So it was so cool to have you do that. And then this was another large section. I think it was like 40 miles before you saw crew again.
Yeah, it's like 40 something miles, just on that bike path. And yeah, so we were all hyped up, fed, loved up, ready to go. And we take off, and Blake's just pumped to get going also. And there we're cruising and chatting, and again we're like passing people. And he was keeping count while we were doing it. And the day's going on, and it's getting warmer. And um, we kept you're on this bike path, and it's going through Tucson, and you see like I think it's going through Tucson, but you end up seeing like there's like restaurants and stores and hotels and like all this stuff. And there's an option you can check out of the race and like go stay in a hotel or go eat at a restaurant or something like that. And in the back of my mind, that was like worst case scenario. If I'm like dying out here, like contemplating quitting or something, like maybe I need to go do that. But it was far from that. So no part of me was ready to like leave the course to go do anything like that. But yeah, the day's heating up. These gas stations, and like I'm like looking for where like the water fountains are, because we didn't pack as much water as we were on the other sections, because we knew that there was like I didn't bring my bladder,
Mhm.
um because we knew there would be like water fountains and things like that. And so we're going through in these gas stations, like man, it's like I'm not like hot at this point, but I'm like man, like on a lot of my training runs in Florida, like I would like get a Slurpee at some point.
Mhm.
And so like I kept bringing it up to Blake, and then we passed this one, and the gas station was like right there, and I was like, dude, we got to go get a Slurpee right now. And so we went in there, and he was sort of questioning. He's like, I don't know if this is like gonna be good for you or whatever. And I convinced him to get one, and then he loved it. Like we were out there like drinking our Slurpees, and it was just awesome. So that was a nice little refresher before the rest of the day. And so we continue on down the bike path, kind of still passing people. And we end up at Valencia, I believe.
Mhm.
And at that point, you're off the bike path, and you're still going to be on road. But this was like, I want to say it was like in the middle of the day. It had to be like 12 or 1 o'clock or something like that. And I wasn't cooked, but I was like ready to, because we had just been running. I was ready to like get a little refresher, like sit down for a second. I was starting to get sunburn a little bit on like my legs, I think. And so we get there, and uh, Mike G, who was one of the race leaders who dropped at Mount Lemmon, he was there, and I got to like meet him. He was super nice. He had like a really funny laugh. And this was like, unfortunately, we caught word earlier in the race that Joe, our coach, who was going for the win, his knee blew up on him, and he was at this aid station for a really long time trying to troubleshoot it, and to essentially like where he dropped from. And like I was sitting there, and like I wasn't feeling like bad, like that Mount Lemmon kind of bad, but I was just like not riding a high anymore either. And Blake was asking me like, you know, trying to tell me like what to do. I think we called you at that point too. And we're trying to like figure out, well, let's feed me, let's give me like some Coke, let's refill all my waters, all that stuff. I think I had a burger. And I was thinking about Joe. I was thinking about Joe while I was there. I was like, this is like, you know, Joe is here and I need to get out of here. And we ended up leaving. And the next section is from here to, what's the name of the aid station?
Uh, Valencia to Pistol Hill.
Yeah, it's from
This-
Valencia to Pistol Hill. It's still like you end up running through a neighborhood, which all the signs and stuff were taken down, which wasn't an issue because like we had our watches. Um, you're still on road, and then you're on this highway for a really long time, and it's a lot of like just kind of slowly going up, and then go down a little bit, and you end up cutting off onto this like dirt road, which is just like these like really rolling hill just for like miles and miles and miles. And when I left Valencia, I had like a second wind and I just like became a madman. I just started like running again. And when we got to like, I think the next time the cruise station, I was like joking. I was like, Joe left his legs there for me. Like I had Joe's legs for like this section and I literally just took off and I was not stopping running. And Blake was like, hey, like, maybe we should like walk the uphills or like take like just a little break. And I told him, I was like, dude, I can't stop. Like I got to keep going. Like I am in the zone right now. And just kept going. I was like ripping the gel, drinking everything. I was like on my A game at this point, and we were just flying. And I couldn't believe, because at this point we're 200 and something miles into it, and I'm like running like this, and it was just like I couldn't believe it myself. Um, and yeah, we get up to, where'd you say, Pistol Hill? Is that where we ended?
yeah, Pistol Hill to Gabe Zimmerman.
Yeah, so we got to Pistol Hill, got up there, and had drop bag refueled with some Celsius. And this is when like the sun is like ish starting to kind of set. It's like starting to turn into night. And so we got refueled and got out there and got going. And two things happened. Once it started getting dark, we were like, oh, yeah, let's get our like lights out. And I realized I didn't have my waist light for some reason. I think we left it charging or something like that. So I had my headlamp, thankfully. But then we also realized like Blake didn't have his headlamp. And we started using like the iPhone and stuff like that. And I was moving pretty slow at this point because my legs were like feeling it. And Blake says he could just like see in the dark. But this dude was like, he literally could see in the dark. I'm like kicking rocks and stumbling, and even I have the light, and he's just like cruising through the night, like no problem. Um, and we get to like almost where the next cruise stop is at Gabe Zimmerman, and it gets like really confusing at the bottom. We like missed a little turn and all this stuff. We ended up figuring it out, but it was like an added like 5 minutes of like where are we? We were like right there. Again, it's like right before we get to these cruise stops, it's like there's some little chaos thing like the trail has. So we figured that out and got up there, and yeah, we got that was I think that was the end of like the road at that point.
Yeah. And that was two things that like really stuck out to me as crew when I like when you were doing going through that like seeing you move so quickly with Blake. I was like, dude, he is just feeling it. Like this is awesome. Like he is still living off that like I'm on the bike path. But then I got the phone call from Blake and he's like, hey, like Charlie's kind of struggling and like I think he eventually put you like us on speaker so like we could all kind of chat or he gave the phone to you. I'm not too sure. But I just remember saying like, dude, you just ran how many miles? Like 12-minute miles. Like you're gonna be tired. You need to fuel up. You need to get some caffeine in you and like just maybe take a 20. You didn't take a nap out there, did you?
No, no, we didn't take it out.
Yeah, and then just kept going, which was really, really cool. And then to see, you know, like I had a little bit of worry. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, oh man, like I hope he didn't like go out too fast on the bike path. And then like now it's kind of blown up and it's only gonna get worse. But as you know, tracking you, I saw you're like moving good again. I'm like, he like his legs are still there, which was really, really cool and special. And then to hear you come in and say like Joe left his legs at that aid station, I was like, dude, like let's go. I was so pumped. And you did come in to Gabe Zimmerman, like not as a low, but like you could definitely tell you're tired. That was, you know, Gabe Zimmerman's 223 miles. So you were definitely, you know, in the unknown at this point too. But we could see the fatigue. This is like when I could really see the fatigue in you. But you still looked really, really good. I was super proud and super like happy to see that. Because at truly at any point in this race, I don't think there was ever a moment I looked at you and thought like, oh no, he's not looking well enough to be able to finish. Which I was honestly seeing so much in other runners. I would see some people come in and be like, "Oh my gosh," and even like coming out of like sleeping and then them heading back out into the trail was like really wild for me to see the amount of people. Because as you know, we've both ran 200 miles before this, but we ran them alone or with a very few amount of people, so we didn't really get to witness that like zombie look. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was in Cocodona out there crewing and pacing, I don't feel like they look that bad. So it was very crazy to me to witness all of this, but it was so special just to see you like and hear that like yeah, like Joe left his legs and I'm still feeling good. And it was just so cool. So Gabe Zimmerman came in. You did sleep here again too. I think we did another 2 hours. So you were right about 6, 7 hours.
Like that.
Yes, somewhere around there. And then you went out for this was the 60 mile, 64, 65 mile section with Jason.
Yep. Yeah, this was another big day. And
Yes.
so we had like a really hard Mount Lemmon day, then we had like a really epic, like brought me back to life, but still a very long day with the bike path and road running. And then I don't know what time of day we started, but it seemed like it was 1 a.m. I
Mhm.
remember. We left. I slept for however long, and then we left at 1 a.m. and we were headed to where are we going?
Santa Rita.
Santa Rita. We're heading to Santa Rita, and we got there while it was still nighttime. It was still morning. And I just remember it was like really cold, but we ended up running that section to Santa Rita. And we got there, and this was like this place was a trap. It's still dark and it's still freezing, and they had like the biggest fire pit with all these chairs around them, and like you walk up and like they're being like so the volunteers are so like on top of like have a seat, like what can I get you, just like let me get you a blanket, put your feet up. And so like next thing you know, you're like cuddled up next to this fire, like with a hot like cup of ramen or something, and everyone there is like passed out. And you're like, man, I could see myself like going to sleep here for a little bit. And Jason was really good because he was like, all right, like eat and like we're not here to sleep, like just do your thing. And like we're just like looking at everyone else kind of like just zonked out. And yeah, so ate and then got going. Jason made sure we didn't like stay there. Um, and sunrise started coming up. And so this next part we're heading to where were we going?
Oak Tree.
Oak Tree. So Santa Rita to Oak Tree. This was a super exposed section. And this day, so every day that was going on from here on out, like it was getting warmer and warmer. And um nothing too memorable about like the trail conditions or like that, but I just remember talking a lot with Jason. Like we talked a lot during the Donna race and got to know each other, but we got to like talk even more like during this section because know, we're still like getting to know each other essentially.
Mhm.
So it was just a lot of like talking, which the miles like flew by. But we got into Oak Tree and there's a drop bag there. And at this point it was like hot. And actually, I'll back up. Uh, when the sun was coming up, I was like getting really tired. And I think he may have texted you saying like Charlie may want a nap or something like
Mhm.
that. And like I just slowed down significantly. And I don't know if it was because they like, put something in my ramen and like I remember I was just like seeing those people sleeping by that fire pit. I was like, man, that looks like so good. I think I just kept thinking about it or something like that. But I slowed down significantly. I remember telling Jason like, yo, I'm like I don't know if I can wait because there was like still a lot of miles until we got to Oak Tree.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can make it there. Like if I do, it's gonna be like really slow because I'm like moving really slow at this point. He's like, all right, well, hey, um, you've never had a trail nap before, like let's do it.
Mhm.
And I remember I was so excited because I was so tired. And he's like, you're gonna lay down, and then if you don't fall asleep right away, then we're gonna get up and keep moving. And if you do fall asleep, we'll give you like 20 minutes or something like that. And I was like, all right, like let me lay down and lay down instantly. He's like, you fell asleep instantly. And so I was out and woke up. And when I woke up, we are like, there's a group of people kind of approaching us. Some of them were the ones that were like passed out at that aid station. And so then there's a group of, I think like four of us, and we were sort of like going back and forth, kind of chatting and passing each other and then like catching up and stuff like this. And that kind of continued until we got to um, the next aid station. It was like hot out at this point, and I was really tired again. And I remember telling Jason like, it's like I think I should take another nap. So he threw me in the tent, I think for like 40 minutes or something
Mhm.
like that after we ate a bunch of food. And um, we busted out the ice bandanas when I woke up. We kind of got geared up, topped off our waters, and sort of doused ourselves in some water and took off because I think this next section was 22 miles
Yeah,
ish, 21 miles, something like that. It was like
22,
a big section.
22. Yeah, and that's from Apache Springs to Casablanca, which is the last aid.
Yeah. So this was like the final stretch until like the last section. And it took forever. And the sunset, it got chilly. And at some point I stopped eating. Um, and I was slowing down. And at this point, Jason too, because he's like 50 miles into it. He is also feeling it. We're both exhausted. And the way the course was, it's like twisted. It's like you end up seeing the same things. Like you like run up a mountain or something like that, and then you like run down, but you're like somehow you're going in a circle. And so you see the same thing like over and over and over again, and like over and over and over again, and over and over and over again. And you're like, am I going crazy? Like, are we going the right way? Like we kept checking our watches and everything like that. And we are going the right way, but it was just like, and it was nighttime. Like, I don't know, the perception of where you were was like gone.
Mhm.
And I remember it took forever. And I was really tired and I wasn't eating enough at this point. And so I was just like really sluggish. And I think Jason started to get concerned that I was like moving so slow and we were so close. At one point we could like see, we knew there was like a mile left and we could see like where we had to get to. And so then we were like just hiking. And I just remember like the just going.
Yeah.
And yeah, eventually we made it there. We got into you guys and do you want to talk about it or you want me to talk about it?
You go first.
Yeah.
It's your
Yeah,
shine.
yeah. So we got in there. I was like extremely exhausted and I was so excited that we finally made it because I was like, I'm gonna sleep for like 2 hours and there's like one section left. I'm just gonna knock it out of the park and like everything's gonna be good. Gonna eat a whole bunch of food. And like we hop in the van and immediately you guys are like, all right, there's no hot food. The chef is like the
Sleep.
volunteer chef, he's sleeping. So I'm gonna make you ramen, so just hold tight. And yeah, so I think you made me ramen. Someone made me ramen. I was like eating ramen and you like told me to take off my shoes so you can start working on my feet. And I guess in the process, I fell asleep. And I woke up. I didn't realize I'd slept, but I woke up and you're there and Joe's there. And I was
Yep.
like shocked that Joe is there. And I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm here for you. And that was like such a cool surprise. But yeah, then you guys were like, all right, go. Like it's time, like get your shoes on, you gotta go. I was like, no, you gotta let me sleep. Like I haven't slept yet. And you both were like, you just slept. And I was like, no, I definitely didn't sleep. Like I need to go back to sleep. Like give me some, please let me sleep. And yeah, it was like a whole back and forth. Eventually you guys let me sleep like 20 more minutes or something like
Yep.
that and then set me off. But yeah, we did the Coke, caffeine, gave me the ramen. And you're like, you allowed me to sleep like 10 or 15, 20 minutes,
Yep.
whatever. And that did the trick before I was sent off for the last segment.
Yeah. So this was definitely the worst you looked coming in. You like it's so weird. Like you looked rough until you sat down and then like you tried to eat a little bit. You laid down. I was like, just lay down, try to close your eyes, let me fix your feet. Within seconds, you were passed out. And I let you lay there for a little. Joe came. I went out of the van, got Joe, was like, hey, like he's sleeping right now, but I'm going to finish fixing his feet. And then like, I'm going to get him out. Blake's in the truck. I need to get him up and like get him ready. So I woke up Blake. I got back in the van and then that's when like I woke you up and you had no clue what was going on. So I was like, oh man. And then yeah, the disappointment in your voice of like, I don't get to sleep. And I'm like, ugh, no, like you need to go. And then we, you know, obviously talked a little bit more, and we agreed on 20 more minutes, which I promise you, you slept an extra 20 minutes. I didn't cut it short. I gave you the 20 minutes. But we just had you like not even change your clothes. So you just like jumped up there, passed out. We just stepped out and waited outside the van, and 20 minutes came by. I went in there, woke you up, and you looked brand new. Like, still like you had run, 200 some miles, but you were way more with it. And you had asked me, and I remember this, and I felt so bad, but you're like, am I doing this alone? And I'm like, no, like Blake is going out with you. Like, I would never send you out alone. Like, even if that meant I had to go back out there with you. It was definitely like you were going to be taken care of. So I wanted to make sure, you were set before you actually took that 20-minute nap. We did give you caffeine, which I feel like that is like kind of what woke you back up. And then you went out with Blake, and literally you left. We go back to the van, and like we're trying to figure out like it's probably going to take him like 6 hours based off of like effort and how long it's been. And I lay down in the van, and Blake is texting us, and he's like, dude, we're running. And I'm like, shoot. So like I'm going back, and I'm like trying to do all of this math. I'm tired. I can't like math right. And I look, and I'm like, I'm gonna set my clock for like an alarm for 2 hours. So I don't even think it was a full 2 hours. I woke up, looked where you are. I think it was like an hour. I was like, oh my God, they're moving. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna lay for 30 more minutes. I set a 30-minute timer on. I was, woken up, and then checked again where you were. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to let Amy know he's gonna be there way sooner. So it was like roughly 4 hours for you to finish this last section. So I had to wait for the sun to come up because I didn't want to drive the car or the van without having some sun, because we didn't have one working
You
headlight.
had one headlight.
So as soon as that sun was up, and like I had gotten maybe like a solid hour of sleep, because like after that, like it was like every 15 minutes I kept waking up, because like I was so worried I was gonna miss you, and there was no way possible I was gonna not be at that finish line. So I got, on the highway, right down the road. It wasn't even a highway. It was like a 9-minute drive for you to run 16 miles, just so you know. Got there, and instantly parked the van, was chat with Amy, because we knew she was getting close to that last segment. So like trying to make sure she was there. I had to call Joe like 2 or 3 times to wake him up to get him at the finish too. But what was that like last segment for you with Blake?
Yeah, woke up and felt just way better. And I remember, I think it was probably you and Joe, but I remember Joe specifically was like really trying to hype me up, and I was like, it's already over. And I don't like, I got this. It's done. And so I was ready to finish it, and I wasn't sure how long it was going to take me, but I wasn't going to like take my time. I was ready to just like move. It was sort of the same thing. Blake was kind of hyped up too, and so he threw on some music, and there was we started seeing headlamps in front of us, and it was like, all right, like let's start like passing some people again. But I also had to be careful too, because I realized you guys probably didn't expect me to move as fast, and probably didn't let Amy know soon enough. So I texted her like probably 20 minutes into it. I was like, hey, I'm feeling good, and I'm moving faster than they're probably expecting. Like, you should probably leave now. And so I gave her the heads up to start moving. And I slowed down a little bit, because I knew if I didn't slow down, like there's a chance she may not be at the finish. I was like, there's no way. Like, I definitely want Amy to be there. And so what I didn't realize is like that first section, like the first half of it, is like super runnable, super nice. The sun was coming up, and we're just like flowing. It's great. And that's where I chose to slow down. I didn't realize like the second half, like was like the super technical spot. And I wish I would have just kept flowing and going until I got to that spot, and just kind of sort of like bank the time to slow down in the harder stuff. Either way, made it work, got through that. And going down this technical downhill stuff, my feet are not even an issue. My feet turned off after Mount Lemmon. Like, they weren't even, my feet just stopped bothering me. So like cruising down that, and surprise, surprise, you pop out of the trail, and there's 2 miles of road to the finish. And ahead of us, there are three people. And Blake looked at me. He's like, we should catch them. And I was like, well, at that point, I knew like everyone was at the finish too. So like, there's no reason to hold back. Like, we're just gonna send it. And yeah, so we start picking up the pace. And two of the three people they were like pretty far ahead, and I was like, I don't think we could actually catch them. But this one guy turned around. We went around this corner, and when we came around the corner, it was just like a straightaway to the finish. And I remember he looked back, and he saw us come around the corner, and he just started booking it. In his head, he was probably like, "There's no way this guy's gonna catch me." And me and Blake were on a mission. He had music pumping, and I was just like, again, like just loving being on the road, and just took off and ended up catching the one guy, which is kind of funny. And yeah, ran into the finish, and just like you turn into this like little open field kind of area, and like the whole setup is there, and you hear people like cheering and shouting your name, and it was just like the most special thing to kind of make that turn and see everybody. And then like Penny and Piper, my girls, they came running to me, and they got to like hold on to me as we ran through the finish. And there was like tears and hugs, and it was like just like such a it was over at that point. It was like part of me couldn't believe it was over. Also, it was like, I don't know, it was a lot.
Oh, I can only imagine. And it was so amazing to see. Like, I remember when you came into that last aid, like, you wanted to sleep so bad. And I just remember, like, telling you, like, this is literally it. There is, I know 16 miles is a lot, but at the same time, like, after doing just everything you did, I was like, dude, like, this is it. Like, we just have to go to the finish and you're done. And then, like, you can go home and take your shoes off and, get in a hot tub, get in a shower, all that good stuff. And it was so cool for you to just accomplish it. And, from start to finish to be there for the full thing, it was so amazing to see and witness and experience everything. Cause I got to see probably like one of the lower points and to see, you questioning it. Cause I do remember during your training camp, like we were kind of talking. I didn't hear from you during the training camp. I'm like, oof, like I don't think things are going very well. And then I didn't
Mm-mm.
reach out. I did talk to Joe, and I was just like, "How'd the training camp go?" And he's like, "Oh, you haven't talked to Charlie?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "I think you need to talk to him." He's like, "I don't think things went well, but like I don't know, like you just talk to him." So we did eventually chat, and you had mentioned like it was really rough. So like having that like question and then for you to go and finish at the end. And then I know like one thing we talked a lot about before, during, and even like after the race was like your why, and like how important it was, and like how defining that why got you to the finish line. Will you still like during, before, after, and all that, like would you still say making that defining why was that like good kick in the butt to get you to the finish?
Yeah, 100%. Because even the tweaks that we made in the training, like that, like just call it like 3 weeks. That 3 weeks of training wasn't what made the difference in like me being able to go. It was literally just, I think, just the mental side of it, and just going through those exercises that Joe gave me, and yeah, just showing up, just believing 100% in myself, showing up for myself, and yeah, it was good. It was like I don't know. I was so proud of how everything went. I was shocked how well I did, and um, yeah, it was like so fulfilling to like get to the finish and just like I did it. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, very cool. And obviously, you finish, you get to go pick out your medal. So I know what medal you picked, but like what medal did you pick and why?
Yeah, so they're cool. The buckles are it's like a belt buckle, and they're all um like handmade and unique in the fact that they're made from like fauna and flora from the course. So no two are alike. They're all very different. And like they have them all laid out, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, oh, like maybe I'll pick an orange one. Like I love my favorite color is orange. And then I was like, well, there's so many that I like. And then I was like, Amy, like come over here and help me pick one. And she's like pointing out all her favorites. In the center of all of them, there's like just one box that's covered up, and like, oh, it's the mystery box. And like no one's chosen it yet, and you can pick it. Once you pick it, you can't like give it back. It's like the one you chose. And I was like, I'm gonna go with the mystery box because I just couldn't decide. So I picked the mystery box and just got this awesome buckle. I loved it. They're all really special. I don't think there is a bad one. And so it was a cool way to like end it as just like another little thing there.
For sure. And that's why I had to ask. I love that you picked it because like I remember looking at them too. Like I'm like scoping over, looking over. I'm like, all of them are so unique, like you said, in their own special way. So it's like, oh my gosh, like which one really was calling to you? And then for you to pick the mystery one was super
Yeah,
cool. And it was so funny because Amy's like, I knew he was going to do that. Like he always listens.
yeah,
It was cool to have that and witness that. And then we sat and kind of chilled out. You got to like just relax for a little bit, talk to Joe, and like just share that special bond. Because I remember overhearing you two talk and like him saying like it's just so special for him to see you finish. And I know like I had talked to him a little after he had to DNF, and like him just talking to me like about how he couldn't believe you were like, he could believe you were doing it, but at the same time, like how much it meant to him because like how worried you were beforehand. So it was so cool just to like be someone like in the back standing and watching all of that happen. And, hearing Joe, like just truly like how much he cared about you to get to the finish and actually finish and how much it meant to him. It was really, really cool. Joe and I are obviously very close. So it's like just so cool to see all of you guys going through all this. It was amazing. Um, and then, we hopped in the van and went to the hotel that we had, which was in Tucson.
Mhm.
And what was the first thing that you did when you got to the hotel? Do you
I think
remember?
we ate. Well, I remember. I think before I took a nap because I wanted to take a nap. Well, I took a shower.
Yeah.
Then the plan was to take a nap right away, but I was like wanting In and Out again. So I remember you ran me and got me some In and Out. So I had a nice shower, full belly of In and Out, and I think I was like propping my feet up or something like that. But then just took like a nice nap and woke up. I think we went and got dinner like right after that, and had like this awesome steak at this Mexican place. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. It was like a good wrap of the day.
Okay. And then, like, a big question that I have, I may know the answer, but like, what were you feeling afterwards? Like, you were done, you were in the hotel, you were getting some sleep, getting some good dinner. Like, how was the body feeling? How was the mind feeling?
Um, Body wasn't feeling it yet, so my feet. It was like funny to walk because like my feet. I wouldn't say they started hurting again, but they were like, oh yeah, they were like swollen.
Mhm.
They were really swollen. So I couldn't fit into my recovery slides. It barely fit into my flip flops. And like we had to go shopping the next day to buy new recovery slides that were 3 sizes bigger, which is just ridiculous. Yeah, the body was like, tired and, kind of what you'd expect. Mentally, I was exhausted, but it was sort of the same thing. Like I, I couldn't believe I did it, but at the same time, like I knew I was going to do it.
Mhm.
So it was really fulfilling. And I was like really proud of, just getting it done and showing up for myself and putting in the work and just like trusting the process. And the experience itself was amazing. It was like an adventure, and it was awesome to share it with like the crew, like you guys. And it was really special that my like Amy and my girl and like my mother-in-law, and we have family in Arizona. It's really special to just like sort of share it with all these people. Then just like all the people on like through text messages or online, like all the messages I was getting was just like it was a lot, and it meant so much. And then it was just like very meaningful, and just like I was just overfilled with just like a tons of good things, tons of positivity and gratitude and just accomplishment. And I was just so happy.
Yeah, no, very, very cool. And one thing I know we have talked about, but you ran 300 miles. You'd done 200 first, you ran 300. And then we were actually out for lunch with Joe, and he had mentioned it, like kind of mentioned, like, I have the bug for the longer distances. And instantly you're like, me too.
Yeah.
So super cool. Like, what do you think has your interest in them so much?
I think it's unique. I think the multi-day kind of experience is super unique, compared to, taking a day or a day and a half to do something. It's just there's a lot more things you have to be considerate of, and I think all the ultras are like adventures in their own way. But being able to like, especially I don't know, across Florida, like it's mostly trail, and you're sort of just like out there, and then the Arizona Monster, it's sort of the same thing. Like you just go on these like epic trips that take days to do, and I don't know, it blows my mind. I never thought I'd do something like this or be someone that does that, and just it's really special, and it still blows my mind. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
the whole thing is just really cool.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I know we had talked about it. And I like kind of mentioned too, like I remember way back in the day, like seeing ultras, and the across the border was my first like, oh my gosh, people can do that. I mean, I think that about any distance, but like 200 miles, I couldn't believe, and but I said that, and then I was like, I wonder if I could do it though, and it's
Yeah,
not more or less anything other than like I want to see if my body and mind could literally get me to that finish line, and I knew that's how it was for you too. Like you were just so interested to see if it's something you could do, because it seemed impossible, and you had said that to me
yeah,
a few times, like it seems impossible, but people do it. So like, why can't I do it? And I love that because it's way more than anything, personal or like egotistical, I guess would be the word to use. Not like personal because it is very personal, but it's personal in the sense of like I want to see if I can push myself outside of like this crazy like idea of where people should be, but like, go out there even more and do it. And you did it, which is amazing. And you did so well. So you finished, and it was super amazing to be there and witness you go through all the amazingness. And I love that you have the bug for the 200-mile distances. I've only done one, and I definitely have the distance or the bug. And crewing you for this has definitely made me like want to do them myself. I've crewed a couple other 200, so it was really cool to do this one because it was obviously a little longer. But I just learned so much, and I'm like, I want to run way more of these, but like, do I have the time? Do I have the people? There's so much that goes into it. So hopefully, I can fit in one maybe next year and the year following, which would be really really cool to do. And then pace and crew as much as possible for these 200s, so I can use them for my knowledge as well. But anything that you want to say about this race before we kind of end it?
Um, if you've never done anything like that before, like maybe not this race specifically, but any type of like, just call it 200-mile race or any multi-day type thing. I think it's cool to try and just see if it's for you, if you like it, like kind of what you get out of it, because you learn something. This is the same as all the other races. Like I just learned so much along the way, before the race, during the race, after the race, and yeah, all these races, they're special in their own way, and I got so much from this one, and it was really special. It was probably one of the most special ones for sure.
Very cool. So I have to ask then, before I let you go, what do you think was the one most significant thing that you learned during this race?
Um, Probably just with the whole process that I went through, just believing in yourself, like trusting the process, like um, yeah, just show up for yourself and just do the best you can.
Like, yeah. No.
Typically, it's like it's all you can do, but a lot of times it's like all you need to do.
Yeah, just quiet that mind and push through, and
Yeah,
one step in front of the other, and you proved that. So amazing, amazing job. Seriously, was so proud to be out there with you. And again, if you ever need any help for any other race, definitely hit me up, and hopefully you'll be out there with me in Tampa Bay, and
yeah, yeah.
Tampa Bay. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. And if you're looking to for any questions on the race or any like 200-mile questions, I will have Charlie's information in the show notes. That way you can reach out. He is an amazing guy, and definitely someone you should have in your corner. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Heck yeah.